You know that group chat that's 70% unhinged, 30% real life planning? Yep, that's us. We're Alicia and Valentina, and this is the AI, Money, and Girlhood podcast with Kiro, where we talk about what is going on with money, power, and tech, and how we take it back.
Yeah. How are you? Where are you? So you're in New York or?
I'm actually in Atlanta right now, so I'm just
Okay.
here visiting for a few weeks, but home base is Colombia. The New York days
Yeah.
are behind me.
Yeah. So you're just in Atlanta visiting family or?
My fiance lives here.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So she
Oh,
lives here, so I'm visiting here for a few weeks, doing some beautiful wedding planning. I actually
yeah.
use Lovable to make a wedding planning app for myself,
Oh my
curated
gosh.
to all of my personal pain points.
I
And then
love that.
I show the engineers and my designer at work, and the designer said, "This is the most product thing I've ever seen." Like, I just have a real life pain point that wedding planning is really annoying, and wedding planners are super expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to get rid of the wedding planner and create a wedding planning app for myself.
How has been going so far?
It's been great. The only annoying thing with Lovable is that you have your daily credits. So I
Yeah.
feel like I'm doing just baby steps here and there. And what I do is when I run out of my 5 credits for the day, I have my prompt already in my notes app ready to go for the next day.
Yeah.
It's honestly been great feature-wise implementing what I want until my latest feature hasn't been working as
Mm.
intended. So I integrated a calendar into the homepage. I know this is not what we're supposed to talk about.
No, I'm curious. I'm curious, like, because our last episode was like our first guest speaker, and it was with Zaria, who's the founding like designer and marketing person at Create. I think I told you about it,
Oh,
Create.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a vibe coding tool. I know exactly what you mean. We talked about the pain point of like you have this vision for a feature, and then it's like you're hitting a wall like 100 times, and
Takes a
it just
month.
can't get there.
Do one baby feature at a time, or sometimes you can lump sum and do 3 different features at one time. But the
Yeah,
issue is you can only fix one feature at a time. And obviously, we can nerd out on it. But
yeah,
for people not in product, I think it's an amazing exercise to vibe code. Because guess what? For example, I created a list of different tasks, but I want to be able to add the component, but I want to be able to assign someone. And those are all tiny, tiny MVP
yeah.
requirements that people don't think about that we have to do when you're vibe coding and creating a real product.
Exactly, exactly. Anyways, thank you for being our second guest on the Kiro AI Money and Girlhood podcast. Maybe just to kick it off, I'll tell, our audience a little bit about how you and I know each other. Tina's unable to make it today as our typical co-host because she's in Greece enjoying the sun and the beach there, but Bryan and I go way back almost 10 years, like literally. Actually, Bryan, it's more than 10 years now.
I think so. Since
Yeah,
2014, so on
exactly.
11 and a half.
Exactly, because we went to college together. We met each other like day -30, like before everything even started. But you have always been really passionate about finances and personal finances. And I don't want to spoil it for everyone on your background, but just thought you'd be such an amazing guest and co host for today's episode to talk about your personal journey, just like your
Mhm.
life and how you ended up going to Penn for undergrad, how you ended up at the jobs that you landed at, and where you're at now. You mentioned earlier you're in Colombia. So maybe just to kick it off, tell us about Bryan.
This can go for 1 minute or this can go for 1 hour. So I'll try to find somewhere, a sweet spot in the middle. So I'm Puerto Rican from North Philly. Actually, it was my dream my entire life to go to Penn. A fun fact not many people know, my mom actually got a full ride to Penn when she
Oh,
was
wow.
18, but then she also had me at 18. Growing up, I actually was in the back of Annenberg Communication Building with me and my sibling in the back of the classroom taking us to class with her. And then she wasn't able to finish her studies because she was focused on raising us. So for me, it was always a lifelong goal to finish what she started. And thankfully, I was able to go to Penn, get the same scholarship she got, and finish a story, which is amazing. But beyond that, I grew up in a low income household in North Philadelphia and grew up in a house and a community and area that, because of low income, as you probably know, in first gen,
Yeah.
finances are never talked about ever. It's because people are living typically week to week, and money is not something that's talked about as a sense of pride. No one's bragging about money. money is typically something that people are trying to figure out day to day, struggling to get by. So because of that, no one's talking about, hey, we have extra money to save or to
Yeah.
invest. Well, let's talk about budgeting. Because guess what? Like, we're just trying to pay the bills. Whatever money that's coming in, we're trying to pay, and then we're trying to finesse and scheme as much as possible to figure out how we can make ends meet. So because of that, growing up, I knew nothing about personal finance at all. And eventually I got to Penn, where I met you. And for the first time, I saw people had checking accounts, savings accounts, high yield savings,
They had a
brokerage.
lot of
uh,
money.
I had no idea what any of those were my entire life until my freshman year of college. Whenever I would get cash for my birthday or holiday, I would literally put it in an envelope and hide it around my room so my siblings or mom wouldn't find it. And that was my bank account.
Hmm.
Then someone told me, you should open a checking account and put your money in there. And I said, yeah, I agree. So what is a checking account and how do I do that? And then started teaching myself personal finances because I didn't even know what I didn't know and fell in love with it. Started teaching other kids through Penn, actually, middle school and high school students in North Philadelphia, where I come from, to financial literacy. Loved how excited they were, how
Yeah.
passionate they became, learning how you can get free money. That is something that happens in society. People get banks literally give away money
And
for
people
free.
don't know about it. That's the crazy thing.
Exactly. And I'll stop there because I know I've said a lot already before getting into my career, but that's a little bit about me and my upbringing.
Yeah, no, I had no idea the story about your mom. Like the fact that you literally were like raised Penn's campus pretty
A
much. Like,
pen baby.
yeah, you're a Penn baby. I totally resonate with a lot of what you're saying in terms of just when we got to Penn, it's you saw a lot of people with a lot of wealth and you just like start to learn about all this
Hmm.
terminology and then you start to learn about like wait, like there are ways you can maximize your wealth that doesn't actually require that much quote unquote work and you're just like this is unfair actually because why didn't I know about this? Like why does my family not know
Hmm.
about this? And so it certainly affected I think both of us in terms of just the journey we went through to learn about it on our own. But I wanted to ask you a bit more of how it affected your decision making for your career. Once you got to Penn, you obviously were like learning about personal finances. And then as you were learning, you were going back into your community. But then you ended up working at a very, very, very large bank that a lot of people know about. So tell us how you ended up there, where you ended up, and how that all kind of ties into your like own personal finance journey.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, it honestly all started with teaching financial literacy when I was in college to middle school and high school students. And I realized the future is in providing this financial education to the next generation and to everyone else that doesn't have access to this. The fact that financial literacy and education is not a mandatory part of every
Right.
single school curriculum makes no sense. I mean, I talked to managing directors at Goldman Sachs that didn't know about personal finance. It's
Mhm.
crazy. I just gave a spoiler. So basically, started teaching financial literacy in college and realized there's such an opportunity to do this at a much larger scale. It's amazing doing this, school by school or community center by community center. But I wonder if I can go into a big bank and try shifting the culture, try using their resources to, benefit a larger population. So I started working at Goldman Sachs for 7.5 years. It was a
Mhm.
long time. It's like the first few was within investment banking. And then I shifted over to a team called Financial Wellness. And this is where it really shaped my career. My first few years in investment banking, I was still involved in financial literacy endeavors, trying to get Goldman to invest in financial literacy. Marcus was blowing up. I was talking to PMs and Marcus, like, hey, we really need to target the underserved market. You're not going to have the same amount of deposit per person, but
Yeah.
guess what? These other banks aren't targeting this population. If we
Tell
can,
everyone what Marcus is because not everyone necessarily
that is
knows.
true. See, exactly. So Marcus by Goldman Sachs, I'm not sponsored, is a high yield savings account. So what a high yield savings account is, just to take one step back, is you typically when you have a bank account like a Wells Fargo, a Chase, you have your checking account that has your direct deposit, which is when your employer just gives money directly into your bank account. And then you have a savings account as well. So what a high yield savings account is, some banks offer it directly within it, like Chase and Wells Fargo. Some you actually go to a fintech company, a financial technology company, and they provide a high yield saving, which is a savings account, but at a high yield. So high yield
Mhm.
means you have a high interest rate. So you earn a lot of money for your money. For doing absolutely nothing, I park up, let's say $100 into a high yield savings account and I get 3.7% back doing nothing. at
And
all
it's not
whatsoever.
riskier either, right?
Nope,
Like,
there's
it's
no
the
risk.
same
Like,
thing.
always make sure first that the bank is insured, it's a
Yeah.
legitimate bank. Don't put it anywhere that is sketchy. But if it's somewhere that's reputable, a real bank like a Capital One, your money will be safe there. But it's not risky. It's not like putting in the stock market where your money could go up or could go down. In a high
Mhm.
yield, your money is going up. It is a guaranteed fact. And I tell you by how much is going up. So that was a quick tangent. So when Marcus was taking off at Goldman, I was meeting with a ton of people in Marcus and saying, hey, like we should really focus on the underserved and actually educating people like we just did right now. Here's what a high yield savings account is. Here's why it matters. Here's why you should use it and focus on this population because
Mhm.
there's such huge untapped market that has so much potential. And guess
Mhm.
what? It's also good from our perspective, the fact that we're assessing this population. So I started those talks my first few years at Goldman. And then one day out of nowhere, unexpected, someone from the financial wellness team who was running the team said, hey, Bryan, I know you're really passionate about financial literacy and serving the underserved. Do you want to be a product manager? I also was not a PM at this
Yeah.
point. I had zero PM experience, zero tech background. You don't need to have technical background to become a product manager.
Yeah.
But because I made it known that I was so passionate about the subject, someone came to me and said, hey, Bryan, there's an opening. Do you want to come on this team? And then I started as an analyst and eventually became a vice president, head of product for the financial wellness product, which is a business to business. We're making up a company. Let's say Kiro is a Fortune 500 company and says,
One
hey,
day.
exactly, one day it says, hey, Goldman Sachs, can you help our employees manage their personal finances? My job was managing that digital platform, helping people achieve their financial goals, reduce their financial stress, and plan their lives.
Yeah. So that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I think actually a lot of people don't know that their employer offers that
Hmm.
benefit.
A lot of them do.
Yeah. And typically, what's covered in those types of benefits?
Yeah. So the company I worked at, the part of Goldman Sachs, was Aco Financial Wellness, but a
Okay.
ton of companies have them. Fidelity has it, Empower, Alight, so many. The thing is, they're kind of hidden in your company benefits, your employer benefits. I
Yeah.
promise it's probably likely you have something. So it's one of two things. Some offer actual financial coaching. So you can call someone up, and I've did it all the time. I was a super
Mm,
user of my own product before I even joined. Like, hey, no joke, this is my first call, my first year at Goldman. Hey, so what is the difference between a Roth and a traditional 401k? What should I do? How much should I contribute? Explain this to me hypothetically as if I know nothing, which I didn't,
mhm,
right? So you can do that, which is great having the financial coach access. And they also have digital platforms. So on the
mm,
digital platforms, depending on the company, you can take a financial wellness assessment and it says like, hey, here are different questions across your savings, credit card, debt management, retirement. Here's how you stack up in these different categories. Here's where you should focus. And here are the actual step by step guides to get you back on track. So
mm,
for retirement, hey, you've done nothing towards retirement. Maybe let's start with education. Let's figure out what 1K is. Let's figure
yeah.
out what an IRA is. And then we can help you choose the right one and know how to contribute towards it. So it's an amazing tool of understanding how to get started on your financial journey that a lot of companies pay a lot of money for their
Yeah.
employees to use. So if you have it, make sure that you're using
Ask
it.
your HR people, right? Like everyone who's listening, make sure you ask because that resource is there. But at the same time, a lot of companies don't offer these types of
Mhm.
resources and benefits. For large corporations, it exists, but I don't know if you're a service worker or you just
Yeah,
work at a startup, like you probably don't have access to that type of resource, and that's why we're creating Kiro and trying to
exactly.
personalize the experience. But I'm so curious about like how you navigated becoming a PM and then how it like essentially changed your career trajectory to where
It
you
did.
are now and tell everyone where you are now.
Yeah, so I'm a lead product manager at NuBank. So NuBank is the largest Latin American fintech companies, one of the largest fintech companies in the world actually, and they're headquartered in Brazil but have offices as well in Mexico and Colombia. So I'm a Colombia product manager in charge of launching a product 0 to 1 in a new market. So I
Wow.
actually moved my entire life from New York City, Goldman Sachs to Bogota, Colombia as a product manager. Knew no one in Colombia. Don't know that many people yet, but it's been an amazing company, amazing
Yeah.
experience. And then going back to your question of how did I transition into product? I had no idea what a product manager was. Let's start there. It's like the
And this is
first step is
pre-ChatGPT too, right?
yeah,
So you can't
well,
even like
I
ask
used to
ChatGPT.
read books. So that's what I did, honestly. I read a ton of books. Like there's
Yeah.
How to Build Products That Customers Love, Decode and Conquer, Cracking the PM Interview, of understanding what a product manager actually does to see if this was something that I would be interested in. And then once I realized like this is actually really cool. Like you really own a product from 0 to 1,000. So you
Yeah.
have the 0 to 1 where you take it from ideation to launch, which is extremely difficult to do in itself. 0 to 1 is very hard in the middle of it right now. People think once you launch a product, that's it. That's the easy part. Then
Yeah.
after you launch a product, you have to actually scale it and continuously make it better and better. And
Yeah.
guess what? As you launch, there's more competition in the market. If you do something that's amazing, there's probably going to be a copycat that does something similar.
Mhm.
So I read a ton of books about product management. I connected with friends from Penn who were product managers and said, I want to like understand what do you do in your daily lives? What is the role of a PM?
Mhm.
Coming from Penn, as you know, a lot of people go into investment banking and management consulting, and I didn't know that many PMs. I didn't know
Yeah.
PM existed. So the first step is like doing the research, reading books, listening to podcasts. Lenny's product podcast is amazing. I listen to it all the time to this
Yeah.
day. It's so insightful hearing from different CPOs or VPs of product of how they manage their own products. And then started networking. So networked at Goldman and finessed my way into product management by showing, hey, that I'm passionate. A lot of
Yeah.
people get dissuaded from going into product because they don't have technical background, they don't have comp sci. Hey, I studied international relations. I had no technical background at all. But as a PM, what a lot of people don't know, you learn everything on the job. Don't worry. You'll know what API is and everything. I knew nothing before, but the most powerful skills for a product manager, communication,
Mm,
stakeholder management, prioritization are so important. And those are
mm,
things you can't really teach on the desk. You can teach
mhm.
the technicals, but teaching those communication and personal skills are so important. So have those, work on those in your current role, and then also learn what a
Mhm.
PM does and best position yourself there. Is what I
Yeah.
leave with my advice.
I think, like, it's so funny when we were in college, it was the quote unquote sexy jobs were like banking or management consulting, but now
Yeah.
it's being a PM or honestly, at least from the college students I've met, it's becoming a founder, which I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
cool. You're trying to become a
It
founder out
shifted
of
so
small.
much.
Things have changed so much, but when I went to business school, for example, a lot of my classmates wanted to pivot to become product managers because it is the job that everyone wants. But at the same time, no one really understood what a PM did, right? It was just the title. Like, I want to be a PM at Meta. It's like, what does that even entail? And so I'm wondering, could you give us a tangible example of something maybe that you can share that you're working on at NuBank or you have worked on in the past of specifically what you're doing as a PM, how you're working with those
Mhm.
stakeholders? You and I have talked about vibe coding a lot. Do you use
Yeah.
that? And just how you're leveraging all of the different tools, AI tools as a
Mhm.
PM. And then also, I think a big part of being a PM is understanding your user. And so tell us,
Mhm.
what do you do to understand this new audience? You're working in the LATAM markets now. What are you
Yeah.
doing as a PM to understand that audience?
Yeah, so not only am I working in the LatAm market, in a market I know nothing about at all whatsoever. So honestly, it was a blessing in disguise moving to Colombia because, like you mentioned, it's so important to know the user pain points and do user research. And by moving to Colombia, I became a baking customer of
Mm,
Colombia. So it was great. I was able to, well, it was not great, but it's great that I was able to move here and learn about the baking pain points. But girl, pain points go on and on and
I
on.
can imagine.
And that's why NuBank exists. It's so bureaucratic to this day. Traditionally, in Latin America, you have these two, three big conglomerate banks that have, no joke, been around for the last 100 years. So a lot of people just stay with the same bank repeatedly, generation after generation. You have to go in person, do paperwork, take a ticket, no joke, go in the bank, take a ticket, wait for an hour to finally see someone.
Crazy.
Probably don't have all the documentation there to open the bank account. Have to go back, get a letter from your employer, come back. It's such a pain in the butt, honestly. I went through it myself. So that was good experience of becoming a user and the bank
Yeah.
system here in Colombia and understanding what are the pain points. But user research is so important and we do it constantly. So in the launching the product, I can't say what it is yet because it hasn't launched. But in preparing for the launch of this product, I had to do so much user research, understanding how are people using this product at different banks? What are
Mm,
the different alternatives for this product? For example, what are the pain points that people have? So pain points, like what is something that's inconvenient for someone? What's something that's
mhm,
hard for someone to do this specific task? Let's say I want to open a credit card as an example. What's difficult about opening a credit card? What do people not like about the process?
yeah.
So we really focus on NuBank so much on making sure that we're doing the user research to find the right user pain points and make sure we're building a solution that addresses those pain points, which I've seen in the product world. A lot of people come solution oriented first and then
Mm,
force fit it to the customer and skip
mm,
the pain point part. Like, yeah, I assume this is a pain point, so let's just force fit it. Or this will make us a lot of money, so let's just give it to the customer. But we really focus on going through the holistic product lifecycle of, okay, here's a problem at hand. Okay, now let's look at the market. What are the different segments of customer? Let's
mm,
segment those customers out. In the product world, we call them user personas. A user
mhm,
persona could be, let's say, I'm focusing on people that are 28, middle income, and have a little bit of knowledge about financial education and financial resources, but not too much,
mhm.
right? To create that person, and then we create different solutions and prioritize those solutions based on which ones fit those pain points the best. Is like what the full product lifecycle is at NuBank, and hopefully for everyone doing product well. But it's been an amazing process to come here and dive into that user research and learn about the Colombia market. And then also we have products in other countries.
Yeah. Yeah, where all is NuBank? So I know it's from Brazil, but it's in Colombia, Mexico. Are those the 3
Exactly.
markets or
Those are the 3 markets.
okay.
But what's cool is I can say, "Hey, this is a cool idea for Colombia. What if
Mm,
we can scale this out to Mexico? Scale
mm,
this out to Brazil?" So it's also great as a product manager here, not only thinking about innovative solutions for this country
mm.
that I'm in charge of, but how can we scale out and make a further global impact?
How do you feel like obviously you went from like this massive company, Goldman
Mhm.
Sachs, this is like traditional financial institute,
Yeah.
and now you're at NuBank. Like, I'm curious, like, what have been the differences and similarities around like managing product and thinking about the customer profile as well? Because
Mhm.
I think NuBank, correct me if I'm wrong, is more obviously retail oriented. Goldman
Yeah.
is more of a commercial bank. And so how have you been able to translate those experiences from a institute that's more commercially focused to one that's more retail
Mhm.
focused?
Yeah, what's funny is NuBank is this huge public company, but it does not feel like that at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
It feels like a small startup, especially when you're in an emerging market. Like we have our own
Mm,
little office there, and it feels like a local small startup, which is I love the
mm,
feel. Because on the difference because it's a startup, things can happen a lot faster. Like, in addition to that, something you mentioned was like, the end customer. So at Goldman, my customer was really other businesses. Like we're selling this platform to other businesses to then get to their employees, but we're
yeah.
not selling directly to their employees. Whereas at NuBank, we're selling to the end customer. It's so different. It's really night and day. The business to business sell, where you're legit in a sales meeting you're competing against other big businesses for the exact same offering is how that
Yeah.
works versus I'm competing not only against a few other businesses in the same financial wellness line. There's every single fintech and every single bank are
Yeah.
offering something similar. So I'm competing against everyone. And it's so much more important, in my opinion, of establishing that value proposition when the competition is so fierce. And I feel like we're in the
Mm,
day and age of every single company trying to become a fintech like, even, like, Rappi, for example, is, like, the Uber Eats in LatAm. They
mhm.
have a savings account. It's crazy. So I
It's
think
like
it's
these
really
super apps, right? Like the culture
yeah,
of super apps is becoming so much bigger.
exactly. "Oh, we can earn some money here? Sure, let's do it. Let's just throw it all into our app already." So I think the focus on the user research is extremely important. Make sure you have a very clear value proposition because the
Yeah.
market and competition is so fierce. I can go on forever, but I'll go into similarities. People don't understand legal and compliance has to be your best friend and product. They really do. People think business stakeholders are super important, design, engineering, all amazing, operations, all critical. A PM's job is impossible without all of those people.
Yeah.
But legal compliance is so, so important, whether you're at a big bank like Goldman Sachs
Mm,
or at feels like a startup at NuBank, especially in an emerging market. You would be surprised. Like the regulator here is extremely, extremely involved
Mm,
in our product because they want to make sure that, there's no predatory practices happening in the
right.
financial market and that they're protecting customers, which I understand.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true around regulation because I mean these are banking entities and those are highly regulated industry. I wanted to shift gears here because you come from a Latin American background, your family's
Mhm.
Puerto Rico, and I'm curious like how has your identity background helped you better understand the market that you're in? If there are similarities, maybe there aren't, because obviously you grew up in Philly and you grew up in the US, but then like there are cultural maybe similarities. And I ask this because I think about my own upbringing and I was
Yeah.
born and raised in the US. At the same time, my parents immigrated from Bangladesh, right? And so there are certain, I don't want to use the word financial expectations, but I'll use it. There are
That's
certain
fair.
financial expectations
Yeah.
culturally that exist coming from, being the daughter of immigrants. And so I'm curious, like, one, do you feel you think about your finances differently than, like, let's say, the average non immigrant American?
Mhm.
And then two, do you see those types of cultural like similarities now that you're working in Colombia? And have you been able to translate that understanding?
Yeah, I'll talk about the first one. I think it's something real. It's something a lot of us deal with quietly and independently, but
Mm,
we never talk about it amongst our entire community. So being first gen, or especially being first gen from an immigrant household, for example, there are those financial expectations. Let's be real, to be able to help your family. I think
yeah.
what's important there is like making sure you're communicating fair boundaries and expectations because I think a lot of times it's difficult creating those boundaries and expectations like, hey, I'm here to help you, but I need to help myself too. It's
Mm,
really
it's
important
so hard.
and it's difficult because let's be real. Hey, like I came to this country for you. I sacrificed everything for you. So come on, it's time to help out too. Valid and everything, but it's important to say like, hey, I hear where you're coming from. Here's where I'm able to assist you. Here's how much I can assist you. But I need to set boundaries and I need to make sure that I'm taking care of my bills and my future, my investments at the same time. And I think because every one of us goes through it in a silo and we don't talk about it, that we just do it, say, okay, whatever. It's easier to just help out and then go through the drama, frankly.
Yeah.
But it's so important to make sure that you're drawing those expectations and boundaries. Very important. They're very
Yeah.
difficult to do. To be clear, I'm not downplaying it,
Yeah, I
but
was like, it's not easy. You can say it 100 times and it just goes right over their head.
I know.
But I'm curious, like, there's because a part of that is you and I, for example, we graduated from college, we're financially independent, maybe we're
Mhm.
living alone, we don't have partners, we don't have obligations, we don't have family. And like a lot of financial products out there and financial wellness tools assume that. But
Mhm.
our reality is not that. Our reality is we went off to these jobs in finance and we were sending money back home to our parents or
Yep.
some recurring, support for them. And I wonder, even I don't know if this is a thing at NuBank or you've talked about it, but like culturally, is that a thing in Colombia or in the Latin American markets where product is that aspect of like this is more of like community family joint
Yeah.
like I don't even know what the word is, but like it's like a joint finances, even though you're actually not joint finances. And I feel like a lot of products in the
Mhm.
US don't necessarily cater towards our audience from that perspective.
I think where you see it very common in Latin America is remittances. So for
Mm,
people that don't understand what that is, it's apps that you can send money back or you
yeah.
send money to different countries. So for example, a very
Like
common
Western
one.
Union, OG Western Union, right?
Exactly, from back in the day, like MoneyGram back in the day. A lot of people now use Wise, for example, for cross-border transactions. It's like the new cool fintech for that space. But that's definitely very common. I think extremely common at Mexico specifically because you
Mm,
have that Mexico to US border right there. And a lot of
mm,
people are sending money back and forth. But in Colombia, it's also a big aspect. And for people that haven't done it, I've been doing it recently more. Like the cross-border transaction are pricey. The fees that they put on top of it, some have a flat fee, some is like, "Oh, it's $10 plus percentage of what you're sending across."
that's
And then you
crazy.
also have the conversion fee if I'm converting from Colombian peso to USD or from USD to euro. Like,
Yeah.
the conversion fee is not in our favor, especially in today's economy. So I think that's where you see it a lot in today's remittances in a Latin American space, and companies trying to bring that into their apps 100% and make
Mm,
it easier because they're aware of that cultural nuance that isn't as really popular or talked about from a US market perspective. Chase isn't out here sending me push notifications. Hey, it's easy to send money across to Mexico.
yeah.
Like it's very big difference culturally.
That's so interesting that like these large banks in the US aren't even thinking about that because like okay, I saw this like random Instagram video, but it was like Selma Hayek talking about how um the GDP of American Latinos in like by like 2030 or 2040 or something
Mhm.
like that will be like the third or fourth largest GDP in the world. As a large bank like a Chase, like wouldn't you see that as an opportunity? Like, okay, these are, first or second generation people. They're likely sending money back home. Like this makes sense to put into product. I know Wise like in the like European market, there's like Revolut and Monzo. Like I
Yeah.
know all those, but like where in the US?
And here's my qualm with finances in the US. I think it's
Yeah.
finances in the world, but finances in the US has been most of my experience in my life. They just take the simplest one size fits all approach and
Hmm.
throw it in your face. And they make enough money that if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And if you're confused by it, then you'll probably end up overdrafting or you'll probably end up paying monthly fees for a checking account. So
And
they're
they make
making money even if you're confused. So that's my biggest issue, frankly, with US banking is the fact that it's a one size fits all approach. They throw it in everyone's face. It's not curated at all whatsoever. It's not personalized to your knowledge or meeting you where you are in your money journey. And then they try almost intentionally to make these hidden fees as hidden as possible. It even happened to me, as financially literate as I am, my Chase checking fell below a certain amount for the last 2 months, and I went to go look at my billing, every so often, and I saw I'm being charged $12.99 a month for a maintenance fee.
No,
What
wait, they
maintenance
have
are you
that?
doing? Yes, $12.99 a month maintenance fee for what? Let's be real. I know the whole backend infrastructure. There is no overhead happening. Like, what are we? There's nothing that you need to be charging me $13 a month for.
Yeah.
And for people that can't have, like, there's certain balance that you need in your account. If you can't keep in 1,500 and you're checking every single month, then you're charging people money for people that don't have enough money to
Yeah.
keep that amount in the account. It's
It's so
insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is pretty interesting. And like now it's like probably really eye-opening for you working at NuBank and seeing those big differences.
Mhm.
And I always ask myself these like fundamental questions of like how is this all allowed? And it's obviously we can get into the politics of lobbying and this and that, but like it's allowed. It's allowed nonetheless in this country and it'll continue to be
Yeah.
allowed for who knows how much longer. But okay, Brian, I want to talk a little bit about your whatever you feel comfortable sharing,
Yeah.
your finances and your advice. Maybe, okay, maybe not financial advice, but your recommendations on what you've learned over the years because you went on the journey yourself to learn it. And then, you started working on product at Goldman. Now you're at NuBank working on product. And like, what are like the
Yeah.
top three things that you've learned over the years? And we already kind of got to it
Mhm.
about like the high yield savings account, but just for someone who's beginner, like at the beginning of their journey of they can't afford a coach, their employer doesn't offer them a coach,
Mhm.
like these are the things that you should do at least early on and then you'll kind of set yourself up for success for the rest of your life. And these are the things that you did or you learned. And maybe in
Yeah.
things you learned and then you're like, holy shit, like I shouldn't have done that. This is the great
Mhm.
example of the Chase one. But if there are any learnings, we're like, just avoid doing this as well.
Let's just circle back on the high yield savings because I mentioned here's
Yeah.
why they're important, but I never mentioned here's how to use it. I think
Hmm.
that's also what's missing a lot in the financial aspect is these banks providing the products, but not teaching us how to use them properly. So, for example, your savings account, your high yield savings where most of your money is being parked up. I see it way too often of people parking up all their money in a checking account.
Hmm.
Basically, all the surplus money is in your checking account, which makes no interest at all whatsoever. And with inflation, actually, your money is losing money.
Yeah.
So put that money, whatever you don't need on, let's say, a monthly basis, put that into your high yield savings account. And guess what? If you need to dip into it, a big expense comes up. you get into a car accident, you have to take it to the shop, you can go into your savings account and take it out, but keep everything there so you're making that money passively is one thing I would say.
Mm,
Two, doubling down on savings. The first thing you should do in your financial journey, in my opinion, is make sure you have an emergency fund in place, or
mhm,
also known as a rainy day fund. So what that is can be between 3 to 6 months of expenses because you never know what could happen. Especially we're in a really tough and tricky job market where if you get fired, it could take 3 to 6 months. So make sure you have that money set aside. So if something like that comes up, that you're okay, you can take care of yourself. So what that is, figure out what your expenses are for 1 month. You have your rent, your groceries, your utilities, if you have car insurance, if you have car payment, whatever it is, and then multiply that by 3 to 6. Then once you figure out that number, figure out a savings plan to get to that number. Do
yeah,
it moderation. You don't have to come up with 3 to 6 months in a week. It's okay, but like, hey, I'm gonna take 6 months to come up with 3 months of savings expenses by dividing it over the course of a weekly basis. So that's my second thing is emergency fund. My third applies to both saving and investing
mm,
early and often. So many times I hear people say, I swear, I don't have enough to save. I don't have enough to invest
I know.
all the time. I'm waiting for the right time. I'm waiting for it. It's coming it's around the corner. But the thing is, even if it's $5 a
Yeah,
week, $5 a month. It is something, and
yeah,
just start building that habit, and you'll feel good about it. When you see the actual growth in your account, you put in a high yield savings account, you put into investments, which we haven't had time to talk about.
mhm,
You put into like a robo advisor, for example, is what I use
mm,
and what I recommend. Like Betterment, if you don't have too much knowledge about the stock market, a robo advisor, what it does sounds exactly like the name, a robot advisor. So it just does the work for you and invests the money for you, and you set basically how much risk you want upfront and
mhm.
allocate your money for you. You have to do nothing at all whatsoever.
You just put
And
the money in.
put the money in. And when I mean early and often, what I do is for my investments, every 2 weeks, every time I get paid, I consider it as a tax on myself. I was like,
Mm,
put in $50 every 2 weeks into my Betterment. And I don't see it. The direct
mm,
deposit set up. I don't do anything, but it builds on that bi-weekly basis. So it can be $50 every 2 weeks. It can be $20. But let's be real. I know y'all are out here getting drinks at the bar, going to happy
right?
hours. So there's
Getting
some
your
sort
matcha
of
latte with oat milk, like, that's
exactly.
$7.
750. So put that 750 into you can do both of them to be clear. You don't have to sacrifice it, but there's enough
Yeah,
for everything. But my advice for saving and investing is do not wait for the perfect time to start. Start now, start with as little as possible. And as you have more surplus income coming in or more like flex fund, you can
mm,
start allocating more, but set the deposit automatically for savings and
mhm,
investings. It can be weekly, it can be bi-weekly, it can be monthly, but do it for you automatically so you don't even have to think about it. It just happens in the background. So those are
yeah.
3. I can name 10 more, but I'll stop there for now.
So did you kind of figure all of that out when you were in college and you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna set these up," or was it really when you got to Goldman and you're like, "Okay, I'm earning more money. I need to know how to make this money work for me," and then you got on the call with the coach and then they were like guiding you through all this? Because I think a lot of the times, a lot of our audience, a lot of Curo users are college students and they're just, "Well, I don't have the money, and I don't
No,
have the time," and it's, well, actually, you do have money because you go to Chipotle and you could go to the dining
exactly.
hall.
Espresso martinis.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, I'm curious, when did you start your journey? Because I reflect on my own journey, and I
Mhm.
did not make. I was similar to you. I didn't make the best choices while I was at Penn because I didn't know what I should be doing and what the right thing is. And it was when I started my first job that I started asking the right questions. Then I was,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, these are 3, 4 years while I was at Penn that I could have been doing this and making extra money on the side.
Yeah, so I actually didn't start with my investment account until I got to Goldman Sachs.
Mm.
And I wish every single day that I started while I was in college. Because the
Right?
thing is, for everyone to know, S&P 500 is the large 500 companies, right? The SPY is like the index of all those together, so it diversifies for you already. It does the work for you. You don't have
Right?
to pick individual stocks, and it grows at an average of 8% per year. The rule of 72, it doubles like every 9 years. Doubles. So like I wish I knew about that in advance. I didn't start until after college, and it wasn't because I didn't have the money. Because I had some surplus money at like internship. I was working part-time while at Penn. And once again, any little bit amount of money is something to start the journey.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know. I didn't know Betterment existed. I didn't know about the stock market. Got staffed to an IPO my first week, and I looked up on Investopedia, what is an IPO? I'm not even joking. Which is initial public offering when a company goes public.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know. Like, no one taught me these things. And it wasn't until I was going through my employer rule book, because Goldman was very strict with investments. You can't
Mm,
do stock investing. So you have to use Betterment. And I said, wait, I love this. It does it for me. I direct deposit and it invests it for me, and I can always change it. And then, like you mentioned, how did I learn? It was like trial and error. Like I
yeah.
started with $50 a month. And then I was like, you know what? I can do more than that. Let's do 50 every 2 weeks. And then you increase it based on you seeing how much you can afford. And by literally me doing nothing, I am not exaggerating. My Betterment portfolio is up 90%.
Okay, King.
I'm- I did nothing. All I did was set up by the way, what up 90% means is that my all the money I put into it has
Yeah.
basically doubled
Yeah.
over the last 7 years.
Yeah.
Doubles. Did nothing at all. I just set up a direct deposit, closed my eyes, and let it do its thing. It
Yeah.
matches like the S&P 500 that we talked about before. So that's how I learned, honestly, was learning about different offerings. Like what Betterment is, Wealthfront is another option.
Yeah.
Robinhood has options. Fidelity is for like single stock investing, and different index funds. But I just didn't know these existed until after college, which is why I
Yeah.
didn't start until that point. But like for people that are in college, at 18, you can open a brokerage account, which is
Right.
to be able to invest. You can start at 18, like get into it. Whatever money you get in, if you have allowance money, throw it in there, for example. And even if you're not 18, what I would be telling my parents to do right now, as soon as I get off this podcast, is say, I need you to open up a custodian investment account, which if you're under 18, your parents open the account for you basically, and you have access to it. And you can tell your parents, I want to put this money into the account. They can put the money in your account, and once you turn 18, it turns into your account. The
Mm.
ownership shifts. But with the market going up 8, 9% every year that you're not in it, you're losing out on
You're
money,
losing
frankly.
out. Totally, totally. Like, okay, for your birthday present, ask for an investment account, you know?
I told for one of my cousins, she had a Sweet 16, and I
Yeah.
said in her card, talk to your dad about the Betterment account. And I texted him on the side, I'm like, hey, here's $100. I need you
Amazing.
to open a Betterment account and put it in here and give her the access to the account.
Yeah.
That
I love it.
honestly, we need to start doing that more. Like
More.
these presents of like giving something that no one's gonna use or no one's gonna care about or
Yeah.
people gonna throw away or possibly not like.
Yeah.
Can we start gifting equity? Like
100%.
seriously,
100%. No, I
like
totally agree with you. I have look, I have a 15-year-old brother. He he's very ambitious and he did an internship this past summer, like doing research at the University of New Orleans. I'm very proud of him. And he made like $2,000, which is like the most money he's ever seen in his
oh,
life.
you're a millionaire at 15.
Exactly. And so he was like, well, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to go eat out with my friends. And I was like, sir, no, you're going to send me all the money right now. And so I made him Zelle me all of the money. And we created a Fidelity Youth account for him, which
Awesome.
on their app, he himself can do the trade, which is really
Mhm.
great. And it's a type of custodial account. And in 10, 20, 30 years, you're going to thank me for this. I
Oh, for
promise.
sure. And you can give me 5% commission if you want in 10
Right?
years
Like, where's
too.
our
Maybe you
management
can
fee?
help out.
I know it is interesting though, like going back to like culture and the US banking market versus others. Like one big difference I saw around youth investing and like
Mhm.
the institutes and even the government promoting youth investing, it was a lot more prevalent in the UK market than it is in the US. Like there
Crazy.
are like junior investment savings accounts that you can create for like a baby and like it's tax advantage. Like the tax advantage account we have in the US is like a 529, which has to go towards your college education
Mhm.
expenses. And
High barrier to entry where no one's going to use it and no one can
exactly.
benefit. And then it becomes a little sus, like, why is it so high? Do we not want the youth investing? What's
Right?
going on?
Yeah. Who do we want investing? The rich get richer and that's it.
Crazy. Like for my
Yeah.
kids, like, and it's exciting. Like I get excited as a kid when I look at my own portfolio and I see the
Right?
little tick going up and I see the projection in 2060. I say that looks good.
It's like,
For
I'm gonna
my
be
kids,
rich.
For my kids, the same thing. The things you got to teach them. Like I put this money in your account. Obviously, you can have your presents and whatnot, but part of your present is, hey, I put this money in your account,
Yeah.
and you have access to it. You can watch it grow over time. I'm gonna put the AirPlay on the TV and say, look at this. This is your
Exactly.
money. And here's how much is projected when you turn 18 years old. And that would excite
Exactly.
me as a kid. I'm gonna have that much at 18. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. I think one key takeaway I've had in this conversation, something I emphasize to a lot of people, is that people think that managing their finances is inaccessible because, the system's against me, or no one taught me
Yeah.
growing up. And like, even you and I are case studies. We went to Penn, we worked in finance. We still didn't know, right? Because no
No.
one was teaching us. But we are great examples of, if you use a resource, even this conversation, to take the action and like set and forget. I think that's a big takeaway for me, is your philosophy is often just, look, I'm going to set up the auto enrollment or direct deposit. It's already automatically invested, and then you're fine. And then you just can watch the graph. That doesn't require that much time or work
No.
or effort, actually. So you can do it. Anyone can do it. And I think that's great parting wisdom for anyone, that you can become a product manager. You can start
You do them
investing.
all.
You can literally do it all. You're the example. You can do it all, from like literally almost being born at Penn to now living in Colombia, living your best life. You have a wedding coming up, and just doing everything you wanted to do that your younger self probably would have been like, I don't know if I would ever be able to accomplish
Mhm.
any of this. And now you're here, and it's because you just went and did it, and like you didn't make excuses. And I think that's the
Yeah.
big thing with finances. Like you said, people make excuses like, oh, I don't know when the right time is.
Mhm.
Every day is the right time.
And we're doing it right now, but I think this is so important. And if we can figure this out as a society,
Yeah.
GDP will go up a million X of let's normalize talking about money.
Yeah.
There's such a stigma about talking about money, and I think I'm supposed to know how to do this already, but I
Yeah.
don't. I'm not going to ask anyone. Or people feel ashamed to ask questions. Like, no, like I wish I asked more questions in high school and college of people that know about these topics. So that's like my last takeaway, my last money
Mhm.
lesson is, if you don't know something, ask. And it's okay. I promise you, if someone were to ask me a question about money, which happens all the time, I'm excited to share information, share that
Right?
knowledge. I'm never judging you because you don't know what a 401k retirement plan is. I'm like, okay, I am so proud of you that you actually asked and went outside of your comfort zone to figure this out. So let's normalize talking about money, and let's just get the conversation going. Like, start it up with someone today.
Yeah. No, you know what I would want to do is, any person that, like penny for your thoughts. It's like $1 for every financial question you ask.
Hmm.
And that's a great incentive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can end on that one. This was so much fun. And maybe last thing, if like people want to connect with any of your content, if you have financial content out there, do you want to like give a quick like shout out? And want to do a quick plug there, then our audience can also go follow you on socials.
They can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, Bryan Rodriguez. I share a bunch of helpful information about how to break into product management, for example, and a bunch of companies that are hiring. I started an Instagram, TikTok, YouTube page, Bank on Bryan. Give it a follow on TikTok, IG, and YouTube. Whatever questions you have, you can throw in the comments on an Instagram, and I'll make sure I do a video and get to it.
Love it. Amazing. Thank you. So good to chat with you.
Likewise, have a good one.
You too.